I welcome you all and thank you very much for taking a time out for this webinar. I hope all of you are staying safe during these difficult times of the pandemic. With lockdown being lifted in a very slow and selective manner, I would urge everyone to be on all the more cautious as we come into contact with more people than in the previous 2 months. In fact, until a real vaccine is found, following basic precautions along with social distancing is the best vaccine that we can ever give to ourselves. In this session, we will take a look at the present technical setup of the markets through the lens of relative strength analysis and relative rotation graphs, which are also popularly known as RRGs or RRG charts. We will understand the basic concept of these tools and apply it to the markets to know the immediate future ahead. The two topics, relative strength and relative rotation graphs, are very detailed ones, individually speaking, and they deserve one session for each one of them. So I have tried to put in some basic concepts for proper understanding and interpretation to have it fit into one single session today. Though the time is short, I will try and run you through as many charts as possible today. If you have questions, I'll be more than happy to take them at the end. However, if the time does not permit, I'll encourage all of you to send it to me individually, and I assure you that I will reply to each one of them as fast as I can. Well, as a brief introduction of myself, I own Gemstone Equity Research and Advisory Services. We are based in Vadodara, that is Gujarat, and we are a research house that provide unbiased and independent technical research to the clients, retail as well as the firms, I mean the institutional ones. I am a chartered market holder, a CMT designation holder, and also a full member of Society of Technical Analysts UK. I am a daily contributor to Economic Times and a featured commentator on stockcharts.com. Apart from this, I have been fortunate enough to contribute to the other financial media as well. Before we move ahead, let me speak a couple of words on our research process. Across our product class, whether it is short-term trading or medium to long-term investing, the method that we follow on our research process is that of a top-down approach. By top-down approach, I mean that we begin with screening the sectors. Once the sectors are shortlisted, we screen the stocks from the shortlisted sectors, and from those final list of stocks is prepared, which then goes out to be sent to the clients as per their respective risk profile and objectives. There are a couple of benefits of this top-down approach as well. It will help us figure out and stay with the leading and relatively strong sectors. Once we do that, then logically, it will in turn help us to stay with leading and relatively stronger stocks. It will also result into a stronger relative and absolute performance against the market. And investment ideas generated with this approach, I mean by using a top-down approach, will definitely have a longer shelf life than the routine momentum calls. You will have the full idea of our services on our website, and I would encourage you to spend some time and visit equityresearch.asia. Okay, today we will try and address the topic of relative strength. We will try and understand the basic applications of relative strength. We will know what relative rotation graphs are. We will also understand the construction and the interpretation of the RRG. We'll take a look at the current market setup through the lens of relative rotation graphs and relative strength. We will take a look at equities as an asset class by comparing it with the rest of the other asset classes. We will take a look at the Indian equity markets against the global backdrop. We will look at the sectors which are worth watching over the coming weeks, and also take a look at the sectors which are likely to underperform over the coming weeks and which we should try and avoid. Before we move to the topic of relative strength and relative rotation graph, let us first take a look at the present technical setup of the Nifty, which will help us also understand the examples that I'll be using later on during the session. This is a weekly chart of Nifty, and it's very evident from the chart. In the month of March, the Nifty has violated this decade-old trend line. And after testing the lows of 7,800 or so, it has given an equally sharp pullback. But importantly, it has halted near the trend line which it had violated earlier, and therefore making a lower top near 9,900. The importance of this trend line can be guessed from the fact that every time when the Nifty has tested this trend line, it has given a significant move up on this significant move up. So for example, when the trend line began, the Nifty rose some 145% from this point. When it tested this trend line again, it rose some 64%, and when it tested the trend line again here for the third time, it's saw a rise of around 74%. By saying this, I am trying to emphasize or highlight the importance of this decade-old trend line. So what I'm trying to say is that stronger the support it is when the Nifty is trading above that, it becomes a equally strong resistance when the Nifty violates that, and that is what we witnessed when the Nifty tested it while pulling itself up and decline from there. So in the weeks ahead, we will see this trend line, which is though it is rising in nature, but over the coming weeks, it should be anywhere between 9850 and 9950. And in the event of any continued up move on Nifty, we will find Nifty facing an extremely strong resistance below this trend line. It is rising in nature, so there will be a gap of 50 75 odd points if we spend 1 or 2 weeks more here. Also, the importance of this trend line is gauged from the fact that during the entire 11 years, almost 10 and a half to 11 years, RSI got oversold just twice. Once before the actual uptrend began, and that was somewhere in 2009, early 2009. And second time it got oversold was only in the month of March, that is March 2020. That speaks of the secular strength of the up move that we saw, and having violated this trend line, Nifty is bound to have a difficult time moving past 9,900. And we should not we should not interpret this any moves on the upper side of the Nifty as a beginning of another bull trend. So until and unless it moves above this red trend line, which is acting as a very strong resistance at this point of time. So we will begin with relative strength analysis. Before I begin, I like to point out the most common mistake that people make is confusing between relative strength and relative strength index. As a matter of fact, these two are very different from each other. So let me first highlight the difference. When we say relative strength index, we measure the relative strength of the security against its own self. and it involves usually a look back period of 14 days. So when we say, so we usually call it 14 period RSI. So it can be 14-day or 14-week, but RSI is something that will measure the strength of a security against with own self and not with anybody else. Whereas relative strength measures the comparative price performance of a security against the other. So it is in this way, it is different from the relative strength index. Relative strength is also the price relative indicator, which compares the performance of one security to another with a ratio chart. This indicator is also known as the relative strength indicator or relative strength comparative. Often, the price relative indicator is used to compare the performance of a stock against the benchmark index. Normally, it can be Nifty 500 or Nifty or any sector index for that matter. Chartists can also use the price relative to compare the performance of a stock to its sector or industry group, and this makes it possible to determine if the stock is leading or lagging its peers. The price relative indicator can also be used to find stocks that are holding up better during a broad market decline or showing weakness during a broad market advance. So if we put it in a simple words, relative strength or the price relative indicator or relative strength comparative, which are all one and the same thing, relative strength is nothing but a base security divided by the comparative security. The price relative indicator and relative strength, I repeat, is simply the base security divided by the comparative security. Typically, the underlying security is a stock and the benchmark is anything like Nifty 50 or Nifty 500. For example, chartists can use the price relative to show the performance of, say, Tata Steel or Reliance relative to Nifty 500 or Nifty or its sector index. This would simply be the price of the stock divided by the index that we are comparing it with. Let me show you a couple of examples where we will find some strong relative strength or weak relative strength, and we will also try and look at the bullish or the bearish divergence that relative strength analysis offers. So just have a look at the strong relative strength example. The first half of the chart shows the price, it's the price chart, and below it is the relative strength which we have compared against the broader Nifty 500 index. So first half of the chart is the price, the lower half is the price of that chart divided by Nifty 500. So we see that the relative strength line is rising steeply. This shows that the security which is plotted on the upper half is performing far better than the Nifty 500 index. So this is an example of strong relative strength. Now let's have a look at the weak relative strength. Again, the first half of the chart shows the price plotting. The lower half of the chart is the relative strength. And here also we have compared against Nifty 500, which is the broader market. We see that regardless of the performance of the price, the relative strength line, which is in the lower half of the chart, is declining. This shows that even if the security that we are comparing against Nifty 500 may be rising individually, I don't say that it always falls, but it is underperforming the Nifty 500. I mean the broader markets when we are comparing it against that index. So regardless of the move of this price, it is underperforming the broader markets as indicated by this weak relative strength, which is the falling relative strength line. The price relative is used to gauge relative strength, which is important when it comes to stock selection. So when it comes to interpretation of relative strength, it is basically meant to be deployed for stock selection and identification of the trend. Many portfolio managers would compare their performance to a benchmark such as Nifty or Nifty 500. Their goal is to outperform that benchmark. In order to achieve this goal, managers often look for stocks that are showing relative strength. And here the relative strength comes into picture. The price relative or the relative strength rises when the stock shows relative strength and it is outperforming its benchmark. On the other hand, conversely speaking, the relative strength falls when a stock shows relative weakness and it's underperforming the benchmark, as we just saw in the earlier example. Chartists can apply basic trend analysis or moving averages to determine the direction of the relative strength line. As with any other price chart, the price relative or the relative strength is trending up when higher highs and higher lows form. Conversely, the relative strength line is trending down when lower lows and lower highs are formed. Chartists can use and apply a moving average of their choice, but I usually use the 50 period moving average for identifying any reversal of the trend, or rather to look for any confirmation of the reversal of the trend. Analysis of relative strength is just like technical analysis of any price chart. It will offer itself to a similar kind of pattern analysis, similar uh, uh, kind of identification of trend, and for the confirmation of the reverse for any change of trend or any reversal of trend. Usually 50 period moving average is what I use, but you can use anyone that suits your trading scenario. Now, since it is subject to a usual analysis of the trend, the relative strength analysis will also offer us cases where we will observe a divergence with the price action, and it can be either bullish or bearish. Let's first have a look at the bullish divergence. A bullish divergence in the price relative signals a relative strength during a price decline. Stocks that hold up the best during a decline are often the leaders when the market starts moving higher. This chart exactly says that. Just observe the first half of the chart and the red arrows. We will see that while the prices are declining, the relative strength line when compared against Nifty 500, I have compared most of the stuff with Nifty 500, which is the broader market index. We see that the relative strength line is steeply rising despite the decline in price. So this shows that this was a period of general market decline, but this stock was relatively outperforming the benchmark. Means that it was also declining, but was declining much less in proportion to the rest of the stocks, and this resulted into a rising relative strength line while the prices were declining. So it offers us a very good example of a bullish divergence. Now the moment the price reversed, the stock became the leader within its benchmark. So a rising relative strength line shows the resilience of a stock during weak markets, and they tend to lead the market up moves going ahead. So we can very easily interpret that the stock is relatively less weaker. It's very less weak than its peers and offers a good buying opportunity as and when the price reverses. Now take a look at the bearish divergence. Bearish divergence is exactly the opposite of what we saw in case of bullish divergence. So bearish divergence in the price relative signals relative weakness during a price advance. Stocks that underperform on the way up often lead lower when the market reverses. Let's have a look at this chart. Now just observe that the price chart of this Nifty auto index was rising during the time of October, beginning the end of 2016 until beginning of 2018. The auto index was rising, but the relative strength line as compared against Nifty 500 was under a decline. So this showed a relative weakness. When the relative strength line is declining, it doesn't mean that the individual stock or the individual index is also declining. It may be rising, as the case is here. Here we see that the auto index is rising, but it is underperforming the broader markets, means it has an opportunity cost if we stay invested in that, number one. And number two, the moment it gave a negative uh, break from the rising channel, it offered us a massive decline, which eroded almost half of its value. So if we interpret this, we saw a bearish divergence in the price here, because when the price was rising, the relative strength was falling. It was exactly the opposite of what we saw earlier. So it indicates that the stock is inherently weaker. The stock or the index that we are comparing is inherently weaker, and it's wise to either not to stay invested in it, or if we are long, it's wise to protect our profits the moment the relative strength line starts declining. Because, as I just said, a falling relative strength line would mean underperformance of the security that we are comparing against the benchmark. Now let's move to relative rotation graphs. Relative rotation graph, as we all know, which are, as I just said when I began, also known as RRG or RRG chart. They are created by Julius D. Campanier in 2004-5. Relative rotation graphs are also commonly referred to as RRGs. They are unique visualization tool for relative strength analysis. So before I move ahead, I'll now try why are we moving to relative rotation graph from relative strength. In relative strength analysis, we saw that we are comparing one security with the other, whereas relative rotation graph will help us compare a bunch of securities all on one chart against a set benchmark. So that's the USP of RRG. So RRGs are unique visualization tool for relative strength analysis. Chartists can use RRGs to analyze the relative strength trends of several securities against a common benchmark and also against each other. The real power of this tool is its ability to plot relative performance on one single graph and show a true rotation. We have all heard of sector and asset class rotation, but it is hard to visualize this rotation sequence on linear charts. RRGs use four quadrants to define the four phases of a relative trend. True rotations can be seen as securities move from one quadrant to the other over a period of time. Now, there are interesting set of factors that has contributed to the creation of the RRGs. First, institutional clients or professional investors are much more interested in the relative performance than any directional forecasts. They want to know where to be overweight and where to be underweight in their equity portfolios. Second, these professional investors face an enormous information overload. They needed a tool that would clearly separate the leader and the laggards. And now here is where relative rotation graphs come into picture, which solved these problems with color-coded quadrants, a ranking table, and an animation feature which makes it easy for investors to keep an eye on one big picture. So we can say that relative rotation graph presents a big picture in one picture. Now, one of the cornerstones of technical analysis is that history repeats itself. We have seen that a lot of investors react to specific situations in a very similar way. They display the same characteristics over and over again, even if they are even if there are generations between the occurrences of such event. So recall all the price shocks or major corrective moves that we saw over the past couple of decades. It is remarkable to see how similar the discussions and the comments were in the wake of these previous shocks. Perhaps the most commonly heard was the comment, "This time it's different." Usually, such a statement would followed by a discussion or explanation as to why the current crisis or a price shock could not be compared to a previous one. When such discussions develop, it makes an interesting case to look at the following example. Today's youth loves luxury. They are bad-mannered, despise all authority, show no respect, and talk when they should be working. The youngsters do not rise from their seats when elderly people enter. They go against their parents, chat in company, gobble down their food, and tyrannize their teachers. Now, if I ask you, do you agree or subscribe to the statement shown? Most people will answer positively in yes to this statement. However, they will be surprised that I am quoting Socrates, and he had said this way before in 400 BC. The bottom line that I'm trying to convey in this is history repeats itself, and every time there is no difference. History repeats itself. It does make sense to look at history. You might learn something. Now let us have a look at this graphic. This is a situation that all investors, whether private investors or retail investors or institutional guys, face. The big question is answer whether to invest or not. And for private investors, it's a real choice whether to invest or not to invest. When you decide not to invest, then there would be no point going ahead in this presentation. But we are choosing the option that we will invest and move on to see how the relative rotation graphs are applied. Let's take an example of a pension fund, which we would call it a professional investor or an institutional investor. Pension funds or comparable institutions with long-term liabilities, they have no real choice. They have to invest. For a professional fund manager, see, as a retail investor, we have a choice that we will not invest. We will sit on cash, 100% cash. But for institutional investors or a professional fund manager, not investing is really not a choice. They have to invest. And for that, they require a structured approach. I repeat, for a professional investor, not investing at all is not really an option for him. He has to stay invested. He may have a lower or higher cash component in his portfolio, but he would never be able to sit 100% on cash. When I began the topic of relative rotation graph, I had highlighted the problem that we face with an individual relative strength analysis is that they are single security chart. Problem with single security is that the only answer you get whether is to invest or not invest in that one particular security that we are comparing. It does not take very long to figure out that institutional investors had different needs from private investors. And as I just said, the size of their portfolio differs hugely, and also their investment goals or mandates are for absolutely not comparable. Private investors 99% of the time are looking for absolute returns, where institutional regulators most of the time are looking for relative returns. And herein where when the information overload comes, they find dealing with individual relative strength charts very difficult, because it results into an information overloads, and it results into a bulk of the charts, massive amount of charts to be seen one by one, which practically makes it very difficult. I would again come to the point which differentiates, or which adds value to the relative strength analysis, is that relative strength analysis, we analyze a single security while comparing it with the either with the other security or with the set benchmark. And this is easy when you have a limited choice to make and a simple asset allocation to make. Either you invest in equities or invest in bonds, or you invest in both equities and bonds. But imagine, what if we are dealing with Nifty 500 universe and have Nifty 500 as a benchmark? We would be dealing with a 500 stocks, each being compared with the other. In fact, in that group of 500 stocks, we will have over 12 key sectors to deal with. And if we multiply the different combinations of comparing one stock with the other, all we get is a large number of charts to go through and hundreds of combination of different combinations, which we will then be comparing with different pair of securities, one against the other. So it practically makes it impossible to have or to view things in a broader context. So in a technician's toolbox, there is only one technique that helps you make choice, distinguish between two securities. But to do it or to view it in a single chart, it makes it difficult. And single chart analysis using relative strength makes it virtually impossible to view things in a broader context. It doesn't allow us to view a big picture in one picture, as I just said earlier. And that would bring us to relative rotation graphs. Now, going back to what I mean, a big picture in one picture. By the time we knew all this, we now need a solution that would answer the following scenario. When someone asks, which sector should we be focusing this week? We should have a solution to this question. We should be able to compare various sectors against a benchmark and come up with an answer for this. If we say that pharma is the sector that we need to focus on, then a logical question would follow. If pharma, then which stocks among the pharma pack should we focus on? So we need a solution that would not only measure a number of different sectors against a set benchmark, but would also compare all components with that sector, or the sector with the sector itself. And this lands us on relative rotation graphs. Before I move ahead and show you some of the examples of the relative rotation graph, um, it would make sense if we try and understand the basic ingredient that goes into construction of the RRG. It is made up of two components. One is the JDK RS ratio, which is plotted on the horizontal axis, and JDK RS momentum, which is plotted on the vertical axis. These are the proprietary indicators developed by Julius D. Campnier, and RRG charts are the official trademarks owned by RRG Research Limited. In order to compare all elements in a universe and rank them based on their high values are considered as good and low values are bad, we need something else. What we are looking for is a uniform measure of relative strength that can be used across all the elements in a universe against the benchmark for that universe, but also to measure the relative strength of one element against the other. And such a need for a measure resulted into development of a proprietary indicator, JDK-RS ratio. JDK-RS ratio is a proprietary indicator that measures the relative strength of all elements in a universe in such a way that the numerical results are all comparable. Not only are the rules of the JDK ratio telling whether an element of the universe is doing better than the benchmark, it will also tell if an element is doing better or worse than another element. This ratio can therefore be used to rank a universe based on the relative strength and answer the question, what are the 5 best stocks or best sectors to look for in the coming week. JDKRS momentum. On the other hand, JDKRS momentum measures the direction and the rate of change of the ratio line. This basically tells us if the relative strength is getting stronger or weaker and whether it is turning up or down. When constructed, this is how the relative rotation graph looks like. Beginning from the green one is the leading quadrant. Below that, it is the weakening quadrant. Lower side on your left, the red one is the lagging quadrant. And again, the blue one on the top left is the improving quadrant. This plus and minus sign may look little bit confusing, but I'll explain what it means in the next picture. Before I move ahead, let us understand that rotation happens in the clockwise manner, as indicated by these 4 joining arrows, circular arrows. The rotation of a stock or a sector happens in a clockwise manner. So when we say that the stock is in the leading quadrant, it means it has positive relative strength and positive relative momentum. This means that the relative strength is getting stronger when the stocks are in the leading quadrant. Below that, when does a stock enters a weakening quadrant? Before relative strength becomes negative, relative moment relative momentum starts to level off and weaken first. When this happens, the stock or sector moves into the bottom right quadrant, that is the weakening quadrant. Now, when both relative momentum and relative strength continues to weaken, it will eventually push the stock or the sector in the bottom left quadrant. This means negative RS, negative relative strength, and that relative strength is still getting weaker, and this puts the stock or the sector in the lagging quadrant. All the components in this lagging quadrant are usually set to highly underperform the benchmark. Now, when this is over and some improvement is seen, eventually, when this weak relative strength will come to an end, at one day, this weak relative strength will come to an end, the weak trend. This starts with an improvement of the relative momentum, which will push the stock back into the top left quadrant, which is the improving one. So from improving to leading to weakening to lagging and to improving again is the logical cycle of the rotation of any stock or security. Let us apply this relative strength in the present context. We will have a look at the Indian sectors uh, benchmarked against broader Nifty 500 index. I'll show you 2 charts. This is the first one. We see that Nifty Energy is placed in the leading quadrant. Along with that, Nifty Pharma and Nifty Infra are placed in the leading quadrant, and the movement is rising. So this means that energy, Nifty Pharma and Nifty Infra are likely to outperform the benchmark, in this case the Nifty 500 index. The Nifty IT, consumption and Nifty FMCG are also outperforming the broader index, but there is a slight tinge of caution is that given the direction of their tail, these long plottings are known as tails, the momentum is slowing down, so we might get some diminishing outperformance. They will continue to outperform. Anything that remains in the leading quadrant will outperform, but so far as these 3 indexes are concerned, the rate of outperformance may be slightly diminishing in nature. On the other hand, we see that Nifty, this is Nifty Financial Service and Bank Nifty are still languishing in the lagging quadrant. So we might see some catching up by these financial stocks as we just saw over the past couple of sessions. But broadly speaking, on week on week basis, they may still continue to relatively underperform the benchmark. Auto index, we just saw that auto index was underperforming over past many months. Now it moving into the improving quadrant here means that the underperformance would have it's likely to have ended. The stock the or the sector index might have likely bottomed out, and we may see it attempting to outperform the broader markets. This means that we may not immediately start buying the auto stocks or auto index, but the point is that we should now stop shorting it in a blanket way. Similarly, we see that Nifty PSU Bank and Nifty Realty, Nifty Service Sector are all languishing in the lagging quadrants, which we will see that they will continue to underperform the broader markets on a relative terms. Just like auto, Nifty Metal and Nifty Media have at least halted their decline. They have not bottomed out. They are not ready to outperform, but their decline has been halted as the direction of the tail has changed and they are moving towards the improving quadrant. Whenever they enter the improving quarter, whenever these two indexes, media and metal, enter the improving quadrant, we will see that their underperformance would come to an end. Same thing here. Infra is lying in the leading quadrant, and so is pharma. So we will continue to see relative outperformance from these two indexes as well. Now let's move and address the question whether equities as an asset class is doing when we compare it to different asset class. And the outcome here is pretty interesting. Here we have taken a Vanguard Balanced Index Fund, which is equally 65-30, it's 60-40 weighted equity to debt fund, and using that as a benchmark, we have compared different asset classes. Equities are represented by ITOT symbol, which is iShares Core S&P Total US Stocks Market ETF. The rest of the assets that we are comparing with is the gold. We have taken corporate bond ETF. We have taken US Treasury bond ETF. We have taken US dollar index. We have taken Vanguard REIT, that is real estate ETF. And we have taken high yield corporate bond ETF. So the interesting thing is that now each dot here on the tail represents a week. That's a weekly view we are taking. The equities have taken a sharp U-turn from the lagging quadrant, and it has improved the improving one. This means that equities as an asset class have at least stopped underperforming the rest of the assets. So there are chances that equities might start performing better than rest of the asset class, and that is reflected how the dollar index, government high yield bonds, US treasury bonds, I mean, and gold are heading lower. They have almost finished their outperformance, and they are likely to take a back seat as against equity, and this has resulted into a building up of a risk on environment, which was completely not the case just a 1 month earlier. So unless the equity negatively rotates back into the lagging quadrant, we will see that equity is doing far better than bonds, than debt instruments, than gold, and then compared to US dollar index. Equities are showing a clear sign of building up of a risk on environment. That's the reason why we are seeing so much resilience on the downside in the global equity markets per se. Often over the past couple of weeks, we have seen that regardless of all the other asset class, equity markets, if we just look at the global equity markets, India has been underperforming the US as well as the European markets. So we'll take a look at India's underperformance against global equity markets. The answer lies on this RRG. Here we have compared different world indexes against MSCI World Index. MSCI World Index is the benchmark, and the tails that you see on these charts are global equity indexes, different like DAX, like FTSE, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Nikkei, uh, Brazil's Bovespa, Jakarta Stock Exchange, including India, of course, goes without saying, Straight Times, everything. Reason that India is underperforming is that you see that the circled one is the NSE Nifty 500 index. It is languishing in the lagging quadrant and it's not showing any signs of reversal. So long as this direction of the tail continues, we will see the equity markets, Indian equity markets, underperforming the global peers. This is the reason why we see that the German index is always resilient and up, but many times India is not. The answer lies here because Germany lies in the improving quadrant. It has likely ended its underperformance, and likely, most hopefully, it will start outperforming the global indexes. Even looking at the sloping tail or the falling tail of S&P, even S&P might take a backseat for now, and we will see European markets performing better, especially the German index. But India, as compared to all of them, is likely to languish and underperform. Brazil's Bovespa, since the tail is now rising high, it's moving higher, it might have ended its underperformance, but that is not the case with India. Unless this tail starts moving up, we will see the Nifty 500, broader Indian markets underperforming the global markets. The conclusion is this: Indian equities are likely to continue to underperform the global equity markets. We took a look at the reading of all the collective sectors against a benchmark, and the reading of each sector against a benchmark should be same. So let us now have a look at the sectors individually using relative strength, which are likely to relatively outperform the broader markets. That is, by broader markets, I mean Nifty 500. These are a couple of sectors, Indian sectors, which will likely outperform the broader markets. Beginning with, yes, pharma. We had seen pharma in the leading quadrant. Then comes auto. After the red shading represents a declining relative strength. These are the relative strength. The line that you see that we have plotted is relative strength line against the Nifty 500 index. So is that it says that Nifty auto might have just started its outperformance against the 500. This is pharma. This is FMCG, which is slightly consolidating, but it's still in a very strong uptrend. And here is IT, which is about to either consolidate its performance or move higher if it manages to move past these multiple tops. Again, as I said, relative strength line is subject to a routine technical analysis check. You can identify trend, you can draw trend lines, and as I just mentioned before, the blue dotted line is the 50 period moving average I have used to confirm any reversal of trend. The other two which are likely to outperform is the Nifty infrastructure and Nifty energy indexes. If I help you recollect, all these names that all these individual names that we just saw were lying either in the improving or the leading quadrants of the RRG when we inspected it as a group. Now let us look at the ones which will relatively underperform the broader markets. And here we have a couple of them. Metal, as I just said, it has not bottomed out, though it may be trying to consolidate its performance. We have Nifty services sector. We have Nifty financial services. This is Nifty bank. This is Nifty media. This is PSU banks and Nifty realty. Again, if I help you recollect, all the underperformance names were either in the weakening quadrant or in the lagging quadrant of the RRG, which we just saw a couple of minutes back. If we sum up, these are the likely outperformance and underperformance. The outperformers include Nifty Pharma, Auto, FMCG, that also includes consumption stocks, Nifty IT, Infra and Energy. On the side of the underperformance, we'll have Nifty Metal, Services sector, banks, financial services, media, PSU bank and realty. When I say underperformance, let me reiterate, I don't mean that they will start declining or we should go short in that. The only thing is that they will relatively underperform. They might perform well individually, but not as well as the broader markets. That is what relative terms mean. So this brings us to an end of today's session. But before we leave or move to any questions, let me talk and discuss something quite attractive and quite exciting and interesting, I will call it. Um, we just saw that we compared different sectors against the benchmark, that was Nifty 500. So the use of relative rotation graph, we could uh, make sense of whether IT is moving or pharma is moving, or if auto has completed its bottoming out process, or financial services are still languishing, and so on and so forth. But what we did not see was the index. We saw the sector indexes, but we did not see the industry groups. By industry groups, I mean, is it possible to spot cement stocks? We have often seen that chemical and fertilizer stocks are moving. They are performing nicely. That entire pocket is doing fine. Sometimes we see sugar stocks doing excellent. Sometimes we see tire stocks taking an exclusive beating. So when we say cement stocks or when we say sugar stocks, you will never find them at one single place. If you take the case of say sugar stocks, I mean industry groups. I am just by sugar stocks, I am giving you an example. When we say sugar stocks, you will never find it at one place while they are grouped together. You will find a couple of them in the mid cap, a couple of them in the small cap, but not at any single place. So we are working towards creating custom industry indexes. We have already initiated the task, and soon we will see the customized custom indexes like cement index or sugar stock index or tire stock index or healthcare stock index, which may be those stocks will be there if you look at the sector, but not at one single place grouped together as an industry. And by doing this, we aim to find industry groups on RRG and catch them young at the time when the move begins. And when any such move begin, it will get reflected on the RRG and we will be able to catch them young. And I'll keep you posted on this. So I would be glad to have any questions if you have. We have one question from Sri Karthik VS. No, you asked if we can expect a 70% proportional collapse if the trend line is violated. No, not really, because every time the value of the Nifty was different. When it rose from say 3,000 to 4,000, it translated into a 25% upside, for example. But now if it falls from that trend line, you cannot expect a 25% decline in absolute terms. I mean, you cannot expect it to fall 2,500 points, say, for example. So not really. That is uh, the percentage gain was used to just demonstrate how important staying above the trend line or staying below the trend line means, and how important it was as a support and how important now it is as a resistance. It's a question from Vinay O'Hara. No, RSI divergence with RS divergence, these are two different things. As I said, RS, when you say RS, you will compare one thing with the other. And when you say RSI divergence, you are comparing the divergence against of that security against its own self. You are measuring the strength of that security against its own self. So these two are quite different, if I understood your question properly. Yes, the recording of this session would be available.